HOA banned me from digging a drain on my 200-year-old ranch, so I cut water to their entire neighborhood. What would you do if someone tried to erase 200 years of your family's land just because they wanted your water pressure? I never thought I'd be that guy. The one in the courthouse. The one on the evening news. The one who finally snapped after a decade of trying to play nice. But when Karen Brookstone stood on the edge of my pasture, hands on her massive hips, barking at a bulldozer operator to fill in my emergency drain trench, I knew the gloves were off. Let me back up. My name's Elias Thorne. I'm the fourth-generation steward of Redtail Ranch, 200-year-old property tucked on the edge of a recently developed subdivision called Sycamore Hill Estates. My family's land is older than the county itself, older than the roads. Hell, some of the fence posts still have handmade iron caps my great-grandfather forged himself. Redtail Ranch sits at the top of a wide slope. Every spring, runoff from mountain rains used to soak the eastern paddock until my grandfather built a French drain system that led water safely into a seasonal creek. That drain saved our pasture, saved our livestock, and during drought years, it even kept the watershed stable enough to support local wildlife. Then came Sycamore Hill and with it, the HOA. Karen Brookstone, wide-bodied, tight-lipped, and aggressive like a cat in a bucket. She was the president of the HOA, the self-appointed Water Conservancy watchdog, and the single most entitled human I've ever met in my life. She marched onto my ranch last fall with a clipboard and a rattling belt of keys like she was a building inspector from the FBI. "This trench," she said, pointing to the old stone channel my grandfather had hand-dug, "is a code violation. It affects downstream pressure to our homes. I'm authorizing a fill-in by Friday." Here. "Lady, that drain has been here since Abraham Lincoln was alive." She didn't blink. "And your plumbing permit expired in 1974. Our bylaws don't recognize any grandfather clauses." I tried to reason. I showed her the maps, the old county documents, the environmental runoff waiver. Didn't matter. Karen wasn't here for truth. She was here to win. 3 days later, I came back from the feed store and found the trench filled in. With gravel. With concrete. With freaking rebar. She'd hired a crew paid for with HOA funds and bulldozed it like it was a pothole on a cul-de-sac. That's when it started. My pasture flooded. The south barn flooded. A whole clutch of nesting owls abandoned their burrow. And Sycamore Hill, their sprinklers kept running. What Karen didn't know, what she never bothered to ask, was that the main water pipeline running under her neighborhood didn't belong to the HOA. It belonged to a 1971 agricultural utility co-op that my family still manages. You see, years ago, Sycamore Hills developers signed an easement with our family. They could use our underground line, but the valve, the pressure controls, the bypass switch, all sat on our land. So I shut it off. Every drop. 12 hours later, Sycamore Hill woke up to dry faucets, brown lawns, dripping shower heads. Karen? She was losing her mind in front of the local news camera by noon. "He's sabotaging our community. This is an act of eco-terrorism," she screamed, soaked in sweat, gesturing at a dead flower bed like it was a crime scene. I didn't say a word. Not to the news. Not to the sheriff. Not even to the HOA attorney who left 6 voicemails. Instead, I handed a copy of our easement contract to the county commissioner who, fun fact, grew up fishing in our creek. He read it, blinked, and muttered, "Well, damn. Karen's done stepped in it now." But it didn't stop there. Twist number 1. A whistleblower from inside the HOA turns out the treasurer leaked emails proving that Karen knew she had no right to touch our land. She just didn't care. If we bury the trench now, it'll take him months to sue. By then, the spring runoff's done. We win. Twist number 2. The trench wasn't just for pasture runoff. It was tied to a federally subsidized erosion prevention study. By destroying it, Karen violated federal wetland protection law. That meant fines, investigations, and a very angry wildlife agent knocking on her door. And that's where things really unraveled. The next week was a slow-motion train wreck for Karen. When a federal wetlands officer arrived on my property, he didn't come alone. He brought a geologist, 2 state conservation officers, and a federal environmental prosecutor. They surveyed the destroyed drain, reviewed my original documents, and confirmed what I already knew. Karen hadn't just committed local overreach, had interfered with a federal conservation site. And she'd done it on camera. That video of her barking orders at the bulldozer crew, it went viral the minute someone leaked it. People didn't just laugh, they were furious. Overnight, Karen became a meme. Headlines read, "Water Wars. HOA President destroys historic drain, now entire neighborhood's dry." By day 3, Sycamore Hills lawns looked like scorched hay. Toilets backed up. The pool club turned green. Tempers rose. The HOA board held an emergency meeting without Karen. And when the treasurer's suite, old Mrs. Hammond stood up and said, "I warned her this would happen," the rest of the board resigned on the spot. Karen? She didn't resign. She doubled down. She filed an injunction against me for malicious sabotage of community infrastructure. But during the first hearing, the judge, same one who once fined a man for spitting gum on a historic statue, looked at the easement, squinted at Karen, and asked, "Did you just bulldoze a federal water management trench without permits and demand free access to a private agricultural line?" Karen stammered. "I thought our bylaw was resisting HOA cooperation." He cut her off. "Mrs. Brookstone, this isn't Desperate Housewives. This is felony-grade environmental vandalism." Gasps echoed across the courtroom. Then came the final nail. A local nonprofit, Riverstone Conservancy, filed a complaint after discovering Karen's actions disrupted 2 protected species nesting in the runoff basin, the same species we'd been quietly monitoring for 6 years. One of the volunteers, a 14-year-old girl named Dana, testified that she watched Karen scream at her father during cleanup, yelling, "It's just a ditch. Nobody cares about birds." That sealed it. Karen was ordered to personally fund a full ecological restoration of the trench, supervised by the same federal officer who nearly charged her and to pay $87,000 in civil damages to both the co-op utility and Redtail Ranch. But the judge wasn't done. In a rare move, he required Karen to issue a public apology in camera holding a shovel while standing in the exact spot she'd ordered destroyed. She did it, red-faced, trembling, gripping the shovel like it might bite her. The apology aired on 3 local channels and went viral within hours. And me? I rebuilt the trench, with community volunteers, with school kids planting native wildflowers, with an Eagle Scout team installing signage that read, "Ton héritage drainage Chanel, 1851 protected forever." We even installed a hand-carved bench overlooking the runoff path, etched with my grandfather's name and a simple quote, "Land doesn't belong to bullies. It belongs to time." Karen moved out 6 weeks later. No bourbier, no fight, just a silent U-Haul, a sagging plastic flamingo left behind, and the faint sound of someone muttering, "I should have minded my own damn business." So now I ask you, was I wrong to shut off the water, or did she open the floodgates all on her own? The end.